How about this to start things off on a day? It's one version. You'll hear both versions by the time the show is over. But let's go ahead and go here. I'm still trying to figure out the whole idea of maybe starting things with like cold opens and things like that. We're getting there. It's just me and logistics. But we'll go ahead and start here with this particular goal to start things off on a Reaction Monday.
We've gone beyond the 8, but of course the goal was scored in added time, so we'll add more. Atlanta looking for an equaliser. Moranchuk tees this one up. Oh, to strike!
Last year gets into Miami. That is a mirror image of the spectacular goal he scored out of his feet, 20 yards down. The angle is perfect for him to open up and put it on that sweet left foot. And when he starts to go through it, that ball just takes off.
Sweet left foot indeed. Tony Husband, Ross Smith on the call on Apple TV, and courtesy of them in Major League Soccer. 90+9, Alexei Miranchuk with the game equalizer, 2-2 on the weekend, Atlanta United and Seattle. We'll go through all the stats, all the numbers, and break all of it down here today and tomorrow, as we always do. Abe Gordon joining us in about 8 minutes, unless he joins us sooner, which is about normal. So we'll see what Abe has to think about things now that he's had a whole 36 hours to think about it. And so we'll go through Atlanta United hour number 1. We'll hear from Ronny Deila. We'll go through all the goals, go through all the stats, all the things, and what you guys have to say as well. We do have to talk about player acquisitions because that is happening here in the secondary transfer window. So we'll talk about that, see if there's anything else in the gossip rumor and innuendo mill, see if there is an update on any folks that have been linked to Atlanta United, and we'll get into that. Bart Keeler is going to join us to start off hour number 2 to talk about the Euros, and we will talk about cards and calls because there are a couple of things that I did want to get into with Bart, and specifically having to do with momentum and things like that. Morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. We've also got transfer news and reports and things like that we'll talk about overseas, and we'll get into that. This week, here's kind of what we're chasing. And with this week being the tail end of July leading into August, obviously that means we're chasing after Keeler Hodges. We get to find out about their field trip to Portland, Maine, the USL show, and find out what it was like for them. We've got championship games coming up in the NPSL and in USL League 2. NPSL, it is El Farolito and our friends at Hickory FC. So we're going to try and catch up with both head coaches by the time the week is done. And in USL League 2, it is Ballard FC and Vermont Green. We've reached out to folks at Vermont. We'll try and reach out to friends at Ballard and get you ready for those championship games this week as well. Obviously, Tyler and Dylan joining us on Wednesday. Remember, we're going to be out shortly after 9:05. We can't go really long this morning because we have to catch up with the caretaker head coach for Atlanta United 2, Jose Silva. If, in fact, it's okay for Jose to join us for a conference call, the standard conference call that we usually have with the coach for the Twos before we go into the match of the week, because Jose and his wife are now proud parents. And I mean, like, literally just this weekend. So we will see if Jose is getting time away from family. We'll see what it's like to be a dad. We'll see if he's gotten any sleep. That conference call is coming up for us as we get ready for Atlanta United and the Revs 2, Atlanta United 2, Wednesday morning at 11 on the network, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. So pregame show 10:30, kick at Foxborough 11:03. So you got that. So when our show ends on Wednesday morning, then you can switch over to the Mixler channel and you can listen to Atlanta United 2 and the Revs 2. But that conference call is coming up this morning, so we'll find out what's going on with Jose Silva. Steve Cook, if you missed it, is now the head of youth and academy up at Lexington SC in USL Championship. And so Steve is headed north, and we're going to catch up with him, obviously, when things calm down. But with Steve heading to Lexington, Jose Silva is now your caretaker head coach for the Twos. We'll find out what life has been like for him as he balances now being a parent and being an interim head coach. So we'll get into that with Jose, and you'll hear from that on Wednesday morning. It's that time, as always, on the Tom Coughlin scale. 5 minutes early means you're on time. So that means that Abe Gordon drops by from our friends at 92.9 The Game. And, sir, I see the sunshine. I see that you are in Colony Square now that you've had the sum total of 36 hours to think about what you and I talked about after Atlanta United and the draw with Seattle. Anything else stick in your head?
No, I mean, it's a lot more of the same. It's great that they can fight and don't give up in matches, especially when you take such a suffering goal against there that felt like it was the doomsday goal. But in the end of it, where you are on the season, where you are in the standings, you needed 3 points. And so it's gotten this way. Like I've been comparing the Braves and United a lot. It's okay to admit. It's okay to admit the postseason's not going to happen. Right now, there's just a lot of things taking place that you hope to see carry over into next season, and some things you obviously want to not carry over into next season. The good news from that perspective is you do start with a blank slate. I am excited for Leagues Cup. It's an incredibly difficult format. I think it's incredibly tough to advance out of Leagues Cup into the next round. You're probably talking about 2 victories and a shootout loss at worst.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need to have a shootout win as part of 3 victories. But the format is not forgiving. So Atlanta United has to keep the same mindset that I kind of felt they needed in the MLS season, 3 points or bust. And so we'll see if they can do that Wednesday against Necaxa.
Yeah, and you and I are going to get all of our cramming in for our Liga MX tests coming up here in a little bit. But you mentioned the format for Leagues Cup, and literally it's not like where they call it phase 1, and they're trying to promote winning and winning big. It's almost like Jägermeister Cup for
Well, I just you don't want to confuse phase 1, like you said, with a group stage. It is not a group stage because they're not divided into groups, and it's not the top 2 out of the teams that you're playing move on. It is 4 of 18 teams move on for the MLS sides and equally for the Liga MX sides. And so you got to not just beat 1 or 2 teams from your opponent pool. You have to beat 14 other MLS squads in terms of points. And like you said, they need you to go after it.
You got to score a lot. And so
yeah,
we'll see what it looks like starting on Wednesday with Necaxa coming to town. And like I said, you and I are going to be getting all of our cramming in for the tests and figuring out keepers and attack and all this kind of stuff. It'll be a fun element inside the season. But I mean, you and I, once again, you got a lot of space between you and even thinking about the 9 right now. And I think it's an opportunity for Atlanta United to focus on themselves for a little bit, bring in all the new faces that we are seeing and possibly more that we have linked to Atlanta United, see how they all integrate and see how these veterans, most of them at the back and most of them, right now it's center backs and then the idea of a midfielder and then Leo Alfonso coming in for help on the wing. How do they integrate? And you have this opportunity to do that before you jump back into league play with Toronto on the 24th at the end of the month.
Yeah, Leo Alfonso's the interesting one. And I think Luke Brennan on Saturday night made it interesting because I think there's a world where if Luke Brennan maybe disappoints or doesn't show Ronny Deila what he wanted to see, then you could bring Alfonso right into the starting lineup. For me, based on what Luke Brennan provided Saturday night in that draw against Seattle, I think he deserves another go here. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when we were kind of Leagues Cup was on the precipice. Like, I'm putting more of my energy into trying to advance and win in Leagues Cup than I am in the MLS season. So if I have to have a B-rate lineup, it's going to go into an MLS match, not into the Leagues Cup match. These are going to be my A guys. If I were the manager, if I were the front office and detailing and planning what we want to go after at this point. So I would have Luke Brennan in there. I am interested to see what we're going to get. It was nice to see Stian Gregerson back in there. Is it a situation where you could pair Stian with Mihai? Is it 1-for-1 Stian or Mihai along with Derek Williams? Fascinated to see what the decisions at the back are. I do know that I want to see more of Mihai. Didn't get to see that much from him in the closing moments there. He did have a nice little tricky dribble, a nice little turn to escape some trouble. I wouldn't recommend doing that so close to your own goal. He made it work. All is forgiven. So, but I do want to see more of Mihai. There's no doubt about that. And then I still, again, even though I said I wanted this to be your A lineup, I would like to see some Will Riley in there as well. I don't know. It's tough to make an argument because I'm certainly not pulling Sleesh off. What do I do with Moyan Ba and the way he's played in recent weeks? So some good questions to have about who's going to be available, who's not. But I would not move out Brennan for Alfonso. So I'm fascinated to see what the decisions are there. Miggy's got to go. Latte Latha's got to go. Again, I'm playing my A lineup against Necaxa. And look, if you don't pick up 3 points, right, if you either lose and get 0 points or you lose in a shootout and get 1 point, then maybe you start to look at it at taking a different path because being one of the top 4 might already be gone at that point. If you get 0 points,
yeah,
I just don't think you can get to a top 4 spot and advance to the quarterfinals. So maybe at that point you look at shuffling the lineup a little bit more for the games with Pumas and Atlas. But I'm giving my A lineup here against Necaxa. So I expect to see very similar to what we see for an MLS match day.
Yeah, so the breakdown for those that obviously do not have their calendars in front of them is you have the matchup coming up in 2 days against Necaxa at Mercedes-Benz. Then you go to Central Florida to take on Pumas, and that is on the 2nd, and so that's on Saturday, and so obviously coverage all over the place with 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Then you turn around and once again you play August the 6th, which is midweek Wednesday against Atlas. And then if you don't make it out of group, you hop back into MLS play and you'll know what your focus is. You're not having to juggle one competition or the other. You go to Montreal on the 9th. Then you have the 16th would be the matchup in Colorado against the Rapids. If you were to advance, here's how, once again, you're juggling, and it's almost like an Open Cup situation where it's midweek weekend, etc. On the 19th would be the quarterfinals. 19th and 20th of August is quarterfinal activity, and so that's 4 days after you would have played, and then you have to come back, and then you play that first home match against Toronto on the weekend, and then you're ducking back in, ducking back out, 26, 27, 31, and that's when you have your third place match, and your final is taking up the month of August. And then you're back into, you have the September break around Labor Day, and then you get back into things. So there is that opportunity. But to your point, you got to get off to the hot start and make sure that you have that opportunity to get into the back and forth that you would have starting on the 9th and then going 9th and 19th, the 9th and 16th and 19th and all that kind of stuff. But focus on yourself first. Like I said, I am intrigued with the Afonso acquisition. You've got what we saw from Mihai, and then you have the other center back who's coming in soon. He was at the match, by the way, on Saturday, newly married, 2 days worth of newly married, and he was at the match, although he was not dressed out to take part in it. And then there are other rumors that we've yet to get into. So welcome to the secondary transfer window, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm fascinated out, and I guess when Chris Henderson was asked on the pregame show by Mike and Jason, there's still spots. Is there still possibility for more moves? And he said there are. So certainly some of these decisions are. I think you're getting to the point now where some of these decisions, you might see names being moved out, and it's tough to see some of the youngsters, Morales and Cobb, go. I think there's some even bigger mainstay names that might be moved if you're looking to add and bring more guys in after the season. The turnover, I think, is going to be big time turnover. So fascinated by that. But look, like you mentioned, when you deal with the back and forth of potentially playing in the knockout rounds for Leagues Cup. I mean, I'll take that. That means that you've done something well in these first 3 games. And certainly, like I said, it's certainly, if you are into the quarterfinals, that takes such a major priority for me over the rest of the MLS season.
Yeah, and we've seen that in Open Cup where you have teams that are well out of the playoff picture. We saw it with Sporting Kansas City in U.S. Open Cup a couple seasons ago where Sporting was making a run, and that was what they were focused on. Peter Vermees at the time when he was head coach, he's like, yep, now we're throwing all of our resources into Open Cup. You know, it is what it is in regular season, and, you know, if we make any kind of a push, cool. But, you know, then look, we're focused on Open Cup because we made that run deep. And, you know, I think they made it to the semifinals by the time they were done. But to your point, focus on there's something that you can chase. And so you look at the optimism of bringing in the new faces. How do they integrate? And if you're chasing something, more power to it. You look at, you know, we have you mentioned Morales and Cobb. And I know that was a point for a lot of the 17s on the weekend. Efra goes to Montreal. It could be upwards of 800,000 in AM by the time it's done. Noah to Colorado, 100,000 there. And there's a sell-on, and then obviously some performance metrics. And I know that was raising some eyebrows for some folks before the weekend happened where Noah ends up in Colorado for the remainder of the season and probably for longer. You with me? You got your ears on.
Yeah, I lost you there, so I missed the end part of the question. I'll just speak on this. The Noah Cobb thing to me is potentially a short-term thing, and so I wouldn't be too surprised to see him back at some point. I'm fascinated to see the development. Look, this is a guy we looked at times towards the end of the early season. Like, he needs to play. He needs to develop, and for whatever reason, he just wasn't getting over a little bit. It looked like Matt Edwards had taken some of those minutes. I think everyone is very high still on Noah Cobb, but he just wasn't getting enough development here. And I think playing with the twos is only going to give him a certain level of development as well. I think he does need to be up. He's certainly that quality of a player. So I'm fascinated to see what he can do in Colorado and how he can develop, and then either make a move from there, which could benefit Atlanta United, or return to Atlanta United. And then Morales as well. Like, this is another guy that I think the past couple of weeks, with the exception of whatever went down at halftime 2 weeks ago, I think you saw what he can provide to a back line as well. So I'm excited to see these guys grow. John, it's the tough part of developing talent at this level, especially when it's multiple guys, the same position or grouping of positions, and you just don't have the area. You don't have 6 center backs. And so from that perspective, it's tough to see them move on, but I do look forward to watching them from afar. And again, it just continues to be a promotion tool for the academy and for the twos to continually pump out MLS caliber talent from their youth.
All right, so go ahead and hit the promo for me and let everybody know what's going on with Atlanta United and Necaxa in Leagues Cup.
Yeah, no changes from our regular style. So we still got full hour pregame, full hour postgame Wednesday for Necaxa. Even though it's Leagues Cup, everything is going to be the same. Starting at 6:30, looking forward to it. And again, it's a blank slate. Anything can happen. We've seen, for Deila has mentioned it, the performance. Like, this was a team in Seattle that was top 4 in the Western Conference. You played them pretty much square even. And so I'm not burying this team from any caliber of competition. I think that obviously they're too far gone from the MLS standings, but I would not be surprised to see them turn it on in Leagues Cup, especially with a couple of these games, even though technically the away side being at home. So Wednesday night, we're going to be there, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and looking forward to it.
As always, I will see you there at the stadium, and we will be hanging out post-match and talking about the first game in Leagues Cup. As always, my friend, thanks for batting leadoff with us all week long, all season long. Who am I saying?
You got it. We'll see you in a couple days.
You got it. There's Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game. And it's always good to have Abe leading off for us. He's our Ichiro, I guess, considering that Ichiro was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Go watch that speech if you missed it. Go watch Ichiro's Hall of Fame speech. It was definitely a Hall of Fame speech. Third time in his career, he's a rookie. And so once again, from that weekend, go watch that. But made fun of a lot of different things and showed his very, very it's a sledgehammer sense of humor. So if you got 20 minutes, if you just want to play it in the background while you're doing other things today, go back and listen to the speech of Ichiro when he was inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Hi, everybody. It's a Monday, and we'll go over, like I said, we'll go over everything from Atlanta United, whatever's on your mind this morning. Bart's going to join us in about a half hour. We'll talk Euros. We'll talk reffing, cards and calls. We'll talk about, the yellow cards in the 5th minute and game state and overcorrecting. And we'll get into the idea of being one of the most whistle-prone center refs in Major League Soccer, and then not for some reason. So we'll get into all that coming up in hour number 2 with Abe. All right, so let's get into Atlanta United and break down everything that happened, go through all the names, all the numbers. I do have an interesting piece of just looking at transactions from the weekend, and one of them was the Leo Afonso deal involving Atlanta United, Messi and friends, and just the logic that was attached over the last couple of previous days when it came to Messi and friends and their front office making these transactions, and specifically the Afonso transaction. We'll get into that in a bit. All right, let's break it all down. It was early on for Atlanta United, and it was an early lead for them in the matchup going up against Seattle. Like I said, there is something that I did want to discuss probably in hour number 2 later about how difficult it is now over the last 5 years to actually win at home in Major League Soccer. We talked about how difficult it is. Someone's actually come up with the empirical evidence to break that all down. Early on, it was Latte Lot, and it was our Scana Hot play. For those that were there at Mercedes-Benz, you got to see me and the Hoff walk you through it. Here are 2 versions. Once again, let's start with our friends at Apple TV. It's Tony Husband and Ross Smith early for Atlanta United with their goal on the board against Seattle at Mercedes-Benz.
Sets it up for Latte Lot. Wide it goes, Brennan. Back for Latte Lot. Has he got an angle there? It's deflected. He did get an angle because he got a deflection. And Atlanta have a goal. Well, maybe it's the break they needed, because you shouldn't really score from there. But he has, and Atlanta lead by a goal to 0.
Starts with testing the young left back of Seattle. Baker Whiting is all over the place, and Almiron is able to get into that front half.
And going further back on that play, the ball that Derek Williams sent forward he went from 118 to the other, and Miggy tracks it down on the second bounce. And you have Miggy work it to the top of the 18, give to Latte Lot. Latte Lot found Brennan off to the left, and there was a space for Latte Lot to shoot through. Like I said, it was probably a good 2 yards wide space that he goes through in that defense and has the opportunity to put something close to net, bounces it off of Yamar, and it goes in the net, and that made it 1-0. That was the Apple version. So here's the 92.9, the Game and the Odyssey app version. Mike and Jason on the call.
Sliding it along the edge of the 18 to the edge of the right side to Gregerson, who plays up to Hernandez, and he'll pitch it over the top for Almiron in a 1v1 with Baker Whiting, and Almiron wins the race, is bumped at the top of the 18 and stays on the ball. Drop back pass Latte Lot, top of the arc, ahead to Brennan, left side of the 18, back to Latte Lot, wide of goal, far side. Here's his cross, that is put into the net for an own goal! 1-0 Atlanta United in the 7th minute on a stroke of good luck, and own goal for Seattle.
And that was what made it 1-0 early on, both versions, 92.9 the Game and the Odyssey app, Apple TV, and Major League Soccer. Then you end up with the 2 goals that Seattle scores. You have the early goal in the second half, and then you have the goal by Di Rosario. So it was De La Vega who scored to make it 1-1. Then it was Di Rosario who scored at 90+5 to make it 2-1. And then 3 or 4 minutes, however many were added on, because remember, Alexis De Silva had to come on for Remy Touchon. And we'll get into injuries and all of that stuff too with Bart coming up in hour number 2. But you have the referee transition, and then you have 5 minutes go for another 4. And so here's how the last chance to dance was for Atlanta United. And mama, there goes that man again. We've already played the one version from Tony and Ross. So here's Mike and Jason, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app, AM 5-9 at 90+9.
Sends it to the back post towards Almiron, headed away by Nuhu. Bounce out for a throw. They will let Atlanta take it. It's thrown into Lennon, who gives it back to Almiron. Miggy to Moranchuk, top of the 18, shot. Score! Goal, Lasso! From Russia with love. Atlanta United, for the 3rd time in their last 4 matches, steals a point at the death.
AM 5-9 at 90+9 to make it 2-2. And so Atlanta United once again gets a point from none. And that's how the match ends, with a 2-2 draw. And going through all of the numbers, then the stats and the SOFA score and all that kind of stuff, we'll get into that here. So we had mentioned in the post-game show that it was 9 shots to 2 in the first 45 minutes. Luke Brennan had the opportunity that hit the post flush, and I mean hit the post flush. I think that if that goes in, then obviously we talk about game state a lot. I think that game state changes with that particular shot or any of those other opportunities in the first 45 if it goes in addition to the one that bounces off of Yamar and goes into the net. On the day, Atlanta scoring slightly less than the overall, courtesy of our friends at SofaScore. Your starting 11, Brad in net, Pedro, Derek, Stian, and Ronald Hernandez were your back 4. The 3 of the 4 that started scored a 7 or a 7.1. Stian with the yellow card. Like I said, we'll get into that in hour number 2. Stian with the yellow card, he graded a little less on SofaScore from the back 4 that were there. Bart had a 6.8. Tristan had a 6.7. You had Alexi at a 7.4. Obviously, that was the game tying goal plus everything else that he did on the day was why I gave him my player of the match. Then up top, it was Luke Brennan, Miggy, and Latte Lot. Latte Lot a 6.9, Miggy a 7.1, Luke a 7.9. We talked about Luke Brennan and what he was bringing to the table. So Luke, it would be nice if I could actually, I don't know, look at numbers and things, but you're not going to, there we go. Okay, so Luke goes 77 minutes. Saba came in for the end, 25 touches, 13 of 18 passing, had the one shot off, had one shot off target, 1 block, and 1 hit the woodwork. He was 3 of 4 on his duels, fouled once, and had the 1 offside. So that was Luke Brennan's day. Looking at the return for Stian Gregerson, Mihai came in the 66th minute and filled in for Gregerson for the final 20+. 5 clearances for Stian on the day, 3 picks, 2 for 5 on his duels. He was fouled once, and he had 2 fouls. So Stian Gregerson had 2 fouls. The first foul was a professional foul, and he gets a yellow card in the 5th minute. And frankly, with that second card, the way that Remy Touchon had been officiating, it would not have surprised me if he would have awarded another yellow at that point. But like I said, it has nothing to do with Stian's behavior. It has more to do with Remy Touchon and his interpretation of what was going on in the match. 56 touches for Stian, 42 of 46 passing at 91%, 2 for 3 on long balls. Derek, I want to get into Derek's numbers because of that, the long ball that helped create that first goal. 90 minutes played full, 7 clearances for Derek on the afternoon, 1 block, 2 picks, 2 tackles, 5 of 8 on his duels, 70 touches, 51 of 57 passing, and 89%. 5 of 9 on long balls for Derek on the afternoon. So busy day for him. And if you missed it with Alexi on the day, 7.4. Obviously, it was adjusted to a 7.4. I think it was a 7.3 initially. 90 minutes on the day, 62 touches, 41 of 49 passing at 84%, 2 key passes, 4 for 6 on long balls, 1 shot on, 1 shot off, 2 shots blocked, 1 for 3 on the dribble. Had the 1 big chance that was missed, 3 for 6 on his duels, and he had 1 clearance and 1 total tackle to go with all of that. Your stats on the day, and then once again, I look at stats and I sit there, and time of possession to me is like time of possession in college football. I mentioned it on the postgame show. It's what you do with it. You could have a run-based offense. You could run wing T for all I care. You could run triple option, but if you don't score, it means nothing. All you're doing is chewing up clock. You could run spread, and you could have virtually no time of possession, but are you scoring points? So I look at time of possession, I'm kind of like, doesn't really matter to me. In the overall, once again, getting into the numbers, 9 total shots in the first 45 compared to 2 for Seattle. 1 corner each. Atlanta had less passes, but once again, it's what you do with it. 17 tackles in the first half, 11 for Seattle, 12 free kicks, 7 to Seattle, the 1 yellow card. 1 big chance missed for Atlanta United. It was the 1 offside, 53% on the duels, 20 of 34 to 14. 8 of the 13 in the air went to Atlanta United. 3 attacks on the dribble compared to 2. Total tackles, once again, we mentioned the 17 total tackles, 11 to Seattle. 13 picks, 7-6 Seattle. 58 recoveries, 30 to 28 for Atlanta. And Atlanta in the first half had 14 clearances in the first half compared to 5 for Seattle. So in the overall, you see how things evolve out. 9-2, it goes to 6-4 in the second half. Total shots 13-8 by the time they were done. 7 corners, 4 for Atlanta, 4 for Seattle, 3 for Atlanta. 24 fouls called, and once again, that's a mix of Tuchon, who was well below his season average, and Alexis De Silva. Slightly more passes for Seattle, 29 tackles, 16 for Seattle, 24 free kicks, 13 for Seattle, 4 yellow cards. Once again, yellow cards versus percentage of fouls called, very, very high in this match. 20 touches inside the 18 for Atlanta United, 17 for Seattle. On the day, 50-50 on your duels, 32 each, 13 of 24 in the air, 1 by Seattle. On the dribble, it was 8 of 18 compared to 4 of 8. We mentioned the picks, 12-11 to Seattle, 51-50 for Seattle on recoveries, 26-25 in clearances, most of those once again coming in the first half for Atlanta United. Here's Ronny Deila after the match. Just a little bit of what Ronny had to say. It was pretty much the opening salvo from the initial question from Doug Robertson of the AJC, discussing, obviously, pleased with the fact that your team continued to fight. You end up with a 2-2 draw, but it was the fact that you had a 1-0 lead and you finished with a 2-2 draw. Here's Ronny Deila from the post-match presser.
I'm frustrated about that, and I think the whole team are that. But again, we do so much good, and we have indecisive moment. We are not have not been good enough this season, and today as well. We meet a very good team. I have to say that they are organized. They are good football players. And we need to be very disciplined and good on the ball if we're going to make something. I think we played a very, very good first half, something of the best we have done. They had nothing. We had 3-4 good opportunities, and we should have created more in that period. I think we had switched the play a little bit more patient in the last third of the pitch, accurate in the last pitch. I think we will get more chances than we had. I see in the end of the first half we start to be a little bit more tired, and then you take that into the second half. I think that's what's happening. We have players that drops in the second half, and then we don't want the ball enough, we don't move enough, and then they have the ball too much, and then we start to go straight instead of switch. And when we switched it, we had good opportunities, but today. And we did that good in many coincidences in the game, but we started to play, when we get tired, more straight balls, and then we lose it too much, and then we have to recover. So we need to keep the ball more against these kind of teams. This is the level, the top level in MLS. There's Seattle, Columbus teams, Cincinnati. You can feel it. They are on that. We are not so far away, but we are far away when talk about points. But I think the 3-4 games now, the performances we look differently. We look better. And I see improvement all the time, and that's the only thing I have to focus on. And that we need to keep on working with the patterns that we had, the relationships inside it. Now it happens things on the right side. It happens a lot also on the left side now with Will and Tristan come in good positions, and Pedro. And now it's the crossing situations, how we get more chances out of this opportunity. And defensively, we need to keep concentration. That's you cannot play 85 minutes in defense. You have to play 90. And today it's the first goal is a challenge there with Stian. We are a little bit unorganized also. We had there was one outside there. So we have to read that situation and win the challenge. And the second is a cross we have to stop. And then also we have three against one inside the box as well. So it's these things we have talked about many times. But I see a lot of improvement. I see our pressing game is better, and we are more organized, and we're creating more.
To Ronnie's point, and to a point that's been made in the Twitch pitch, Stian was boxed out by Rusnak on the long ball that was creating the opportunity for De La Vega to go and be a part of the 3v1 where Derek was caught back. But yeah, Rusnak basically boxed out Stian and prevented Stian from getting back to improve the odds a little bit on that breakaway after the bounce. And so that was why Derek was kind of left to his lonesome back there. But like I said, credit to Albert Rusnak for seeing that Stian was backtracking and creating an issue to where he made it difficult and then nay impossible for Stian Gregerson to come back to help out and defend on that goal for Seattle with Pedro de la Vega that evened things up at 1. And to Ronnie's point, there were a couple of things that stuck out to me, they're in both Maddie's conversation that she had with him and that you heard there in the opening little bit of the post-match press conference. Ronnie did say that they were tired. You can't defend for 85. And he did say that they seemed a bit tired. And I think that you look at all of the effort that they presented defensively and trying to create opportunities in that first 25 minutes. And I think that probably contributed to it. All that effort that you spent early came back and got you later. But it was, you saw in that first half, trying to create turnovers, trying to create short fields and opportunities. You saw that out of Atlanta United. It's just that they got the one, they didn't get the second. And the opportunities were there, and that didn't quite happen. So, losing the ball too easily, getting caught on mistakes. We mentioned that with Stian. He thinks that he thought in the conversation with Matt, he thought that they deserved the draw, but they felt like that they should have won the game. They are getting better, especially with timing. He thought that Mihai was steady. And like I said, this is the conversation that Maddie then carrying into the post-game comments. Thought that Mihai was steady in his first 25 minutes. And that was, like I said, that's what our buddy Nino Torres has told us about Nea Mihai, is that he's going to be steady for you. The Honda Accord of center backs. So you're looking to that coming up with Mihai as he continues. And you saw some of the leadership and the taking charge that we are used to seeing on the tapes and in the intelligence reports on Mihai. And going into the second goal, I know that it was a point that Abe made on the full-time report where you have the conversation between Mihai and Brooks, and I don't know if something got lost or what have you, but it was new teammates together trying to have a conversation and directing traffic, and then it ends up with Di Rosario going around Derek Williams and getting to the ball before Di Rosario puts it in the net. That then made it 2-1 before Atlanta United got to chase after the eventual game tying goal. Ronnie did mention the relationships between Luke, Tristan, and Pedro on the left, and then Miranchuk, Miggy, and Ronald Hernandez on the right. I would, if you've got time, go back and listen to the interview that Maddie and Jason did with Ronald post-match on the full-time report, and it it reinforces what we've thought about Ronald. Basically, it's like, tell me what you need me to do, and I'll go do it. And like I said, Ronald was one of the highest grades at the back for Atlanta United defensively, and playing at right back to start against Seattle. So that's required listening is to go back to the full-time report, listen to the conversation. I think it was in the third block. And I may pull it and we may play it tomorrow if you don't have the chance to listen to it. I may pull that interview and we'll play it tomorrow as a part of looking back at the rest of Major League Soccer and with Atlanta United. Ronny did say that he thought that the pressing game was better. And like I said, it goes back to that first 25 minutes. I would agree to that. And that I would agree that the pressing game was better, creating opportunities for Atlanta United, especially in the first 45. Luke, in the post game and the full-time report and the interview that we had, getting to know Tristan a little better, building chemistry there, feeling better with composure, with reps, and holding the ball, and not just sitting there and just smashing it forward. It's like, I've got to do something with it. Luke, you noticed in the match this past weekend, becoming more composed, more comfortable with the relationships on the left-hand side, and actually pausing a little bit to think and force the opponent to think as well. It's like, okay, what's Luke going to do with it? And that comes with experience. And we're seeing that where Luke is getting better every single time. And he was causing problems with Yamar. Yamar was chirping to whoever the center ref was, and basically then when the match was over, to all four refs. Luke got under Yamar's skin. Luke gets under everybody's skin, and that's been one of the fun things to see, that Luke will run at you. Luke will try to create problems. Luke will draw fouls. And Luke and Yamar, I think Yamar was having his hands full with Luke Brennan as a part of what was going on. Speaking of that left-hand side, I wanted to bring this up. Juan Beracall supposedly next couple of days he'll be getting integrated with Atlanta United. I think it's going to be a couple of weeks before we see Beracall at the back, paperwork and stuff. Leo Afonso, you don't have to worry about that, because Afonso, being in Major League Soccer, coming in, I think he was drafted, if memory serves, he was drafted by Chris Henderson out of Virginia. So Leo Afonso coming in to be a part of the future for Atlanta United. And this was pointed out by Franco Panizzo, and it was interesting to see how things are kind of going for Messi and friends these days. The deal, so yesterday afternoon, so 2 o'clock? So was it 6? 19 at 5. So about 2:15, 2:30 yesterday afternoon, the deal was official, according to Franco. And you saw Atlanta United post, welcome Leo. Here's what Franco Panizzo said about the trade and about how Messi and friends have been doing business recently. So Fort Lauderdale, Messi and friends send a Leo Afonso and $225,000 in GAM to Atlanta United for an international slot, presuming that the international slot is for Rodrigo de Paul, El Motorcito. So does that mean that he is El Motorcito madman? But anyway, so here's the first part of the deal. Messi and friends send Afonso and $225,000 in AM for an international slot. So now this probably has jacked up the rate for an international slot amongst league transactions. So good on Atlanta United for driving up the market. Afonso and $225,000 in GAM for an international slot. A couple days ago, late last week, Messi and friends traded an international roster slot to Portland for $135,000 in GAM, assuming that they needed the GAM to help pay for Rodrigo de Paul in a league structure. And then they're going to work. It's like, we'll figure it out. We'll get him in the door. We'll figure it out later. I think that's where this was heading. We need AM. Okay, well, what do we do? Well, let's trade an international slot. What kind of resources do we have? Well, we've got an international slot. Okay, so let's trade that to Portland, and then we'll get some GAM. So you did that. So you got some GAM for an international slot. Then you send a player and more GAM than you brought in for the international slot that you lost, so you could presumably bring in Rodrigo de Paul. Over the span of, say, 3 days, 2 transactions for Messi and friends, they spend $90,000 in GAM and move a player on. Desperate teams and eagle-eyed front office folks. That's what Messi and friends did the last couple of days to bring in a player and then create some space. They spent money. They spent league money. They spent Garber bucks. But they spend Garber bucks to move a player along so they could bring in another player. And like I said, I think they're interrelated. I don't know how many other folks think they're interrelated. But you've got to bring in GAM, you've got to bring in AM of some description so you can pay for the player who's a loan, and then, as we anticipated, it's a loan deal this year, and then you're paying him as a DP later on, unless you buy down other folks and he's a high TAM or what have you. But I think the plan is to buy him down. He's a loan deal for the rest of this season because it's only, a third of the year? So you prorate some Garber bucks to pay Rodrigo de Paul this year. We'll gladly pay you this year, and we'll pay you more for the next 3 in the deal. So you needed that money first. Or you needed the international slot first. Money be damned. And that's what you ended up doing. You send an international slot for GAM so you could bring in Rodrigo de Paul and pay for him. Oh, crap. We need an international slot. Chris Henderson comes knocking on your door. Hey, how about this dude? And we'll give you an international slot. You give us some GAM too. So Atlanta United could probably make more deals. That's the kind of stuff that Messi and friends have to do these days to kind of fit folks under the cap. I give them full credit for trying to figure out how to be this imaginative, plus the notion of, hey, do you want to play with Lionel Messi? Which basically I think is how every conversation starts. Leo wants you to come play with him. Okay. What do you want? Well, what do we need to do? Well, we'll figure it out. Just come on over and we'll figure it out. I think that's basically how all the conversations go. Hey, come on over. We'll figure it out. And apparently Messi and the boss were on the cam for the Coldplay concert that they went to go see the other day. But yes, the creative financing 101 that has to be done currently in Fort Lauderdale to make ends meet as they race toward trying to win things this year. I just thought it was intriguing that you had to, after you had sold away or traded away, you traded away an international slot for GAM to pay for a player. Then you got to figure out how to put the player in under your designations. So you end up getting an international slot, but you have to overpay for it because you really need it. And you ended up sacrificing a player out of the deal who really wasn't getting a whole lot of playing time. It's very, that's smart business, as the kids say. Smart business. Keeping an eye on things. I mean, just to give you an idea about Leo Alfonso when it comes to stats and numbers and things. Like official stuff this year. Alfonso wasn't getting a whole lot of work. I'm literally having to go all the way down to the bottom of the page. Leo Alfonso played in 3 matches this year. 1 start, 89 minutes total. Twice he was a sub. Obviously, he didn't score in any of the matches. Passing percentage at 71%. But 3 matches. A winger for 3 matches. And then that was kind of part and parcel as to why they had to bring up Abadi Areda from Messi and Friends 2 to help fill out roster space. Probably doing that going forward just a bit. But yeah, Leo Alfonso, 3 matches this season. He was named to the team of the match day, by the way, at one point last year. Game-winning goal in the victory over Philadelphia. Joined the first team in April of last year. Got his first goal then. But this year has not been playing. 11 matches last year, 1 start, 2 goals. This year, 3 matches, 1 start, 89 minutes, 1 shot. 4 fouls whistled, 1 against, and a yellow card. So somebody who was not getting minutes, sitting on the bench, and he sat on the bench for a lot of matches. Last time he was active in a match for Messi and Friends as a sub, May the 10th against Minnesota. Started for Messi and Friends 2, played 67 minutes, April 27th against Dallas. That's where he got the bulk of his minutes. Started for the 2s, April 10th. Literally, that's it. He's been sitting on the bench. I mean, he might have had a memorial chair at the erector set, or at least a chair that was familiar with him. Oh, this is Leo. He's coming over to sit down. Alfonso. Didn't play. Starter next pro. This is his season. This is Leo Alfonso's season. And this is Chris Henderson seeing something that could be of value. And he's also making league min. His contract is up at the end of this year, but he has options for the next 2 seasons. Substitute. Starter next pro. Substitute. Starter first team. Substitute. Starter next pro. Substitute Major League Soccer, May the 10th. Listed as a sub. Ever since then, hadn't played. So Chris Henderson sees someone who can attack from the wing in Leo Alfonso, takes him off of the hands of his old franchise, gets money out of the deal, money and a player for an international spot. So that's Chris Henderson wheeling and dealing right now. So better call, probably a couple weeks away. Leo Alfonso in-house. So we'll see what the latest is there about that integration. And going back and checking on the rumor train of Steven Alzate. Going back to the end of last week. Listed as an imminent departure, but nothing new. Listed as an imminent departure and an expected departure, all the things. And so it's listed at 1.5 million pounds, I think another 500,000 in add-ons. Hull Daily Mail had an article that was posted late last week. The Hull Daily Mail, literally almost a week ago, had Alzate heading for a Hull City exit. Colombian midfielder set for move to Atlanta. So that's what you're staring at there. That's keep an eye on the Steven Alzate. Remember Wasserman as a part of the shtick. And keep an eye on all of that. Hour number 2. That means one thing. It's where we get to discuss everything that angers me on a weekly basis, especially when it comes to the inconsistencies of folks that have whistles and cards on their person. And it's time to bring in Bart Keeler from the Soccer for USPod, where we talk about the Euros and card calls. Happy Monday, comma, Bart, exclamation point.
Happy Monday, John. How are we today?
Oh, apparently it went home. We have to talk about that.
The home it went, or stayed, rather. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the terminology for today.
Yes. And so where were you taking in said match? Were you having a life, or were you actually watching this match yesterday?
I was watching at Jolene, the new women's sports bar in town, with a packed house, I might add. So very nice to see that. Yeah, it was entertaining. I mean, I think that you could look at a game that ends 1-1 and go, all right, that was fine. But there were chances both teams had. The penalty kicks, this time at least, the goalkeepers saved them. They weren't just bad penalty kicks. Catacol especially had 2 saves that were really phenomenal. And it stayed home, John. I don't think that it's look, I think when you look at this tournament, you look at Spain, you look at England, and you go, okay, these are clearly 2 of the best teams in the world. England has a problem with showing it super consistently, but they've made 3 finals in a row, won 2 of them. Spain has made 2 finals in a row, only won 1. And I'll just again add that until the Women's World Cup in 2023, Spain had never won a knockout match in an international tournament. So despite what people who started watching the game in 2023 believe, Spain has not been a preeminent powerhouse in this game. Barcelona has been really good because they face 0 competition from their league, but they have been able to, in the last half decade, put together a team that knows how to win and how to play tournament style soccer. They were just slightly unfortunate to not get the job done on Sunday. They probably had a couple more chances that should have found the back of the net than England did, but you got to make your penalty kicks.
So then, what would you say this says? What would you say this says about Montse Tomé and what she has been able to do as the head coach there in Spain?
I mean, I think she's kept the level where it needs to be. Spain is also in the semifinals. That's where we're at of Nations League. That'll be in October and November, semifinals and finals. So for me, she's kept it at the level that it was supposed to be at. Right. Look, again, you make a final. I think, yes, you could say, oh, we should have won. That's not how finals work, unfortunately. Yes, they could have. Yes, they had plenty of chances. They just didn't get it done the way that they did back in 2023, where, again, it's not like they blew the doors off England either. So these 2 teams are fairly well matched. I think they're a good example of what modern football should look like. Specifically, if you want to look at England, you're probably going to see a lot of characteristics that will ring true for our women's national team in the way that they try to play with purposeful possession.
Possession.
Yeah, not just having the ball to have the ball, which Spain sometimes runs into that problem. But I think Montse Tomé has kept the level as expected for Spain. Again, they got to a final, right? And looked darn good getting to the final. They're into the semifinals of Nations League. I would expect them to probably be in the final as well. That is the standard Spain expects right now. Who's not in that semifinal? It's England. England, as our friend Jason would say.
There you go.
We only do that when they're not performing well.
Yeah, Nick breaks that down, and then he'll bust that out better than anybody. But yes.
Exactly. But that I think is a testament to the level that Spain has kept, and I think Tomé is a big part of that.
Since we're on Spain at the moment, I don't think you can mention Spain. There are a couple of different ways that I want to look at this. I want to look at Bonmati. I want to look at Onabatla. I want to look at the keeper and what we've seen from then technically really both keepers, Catalina Call and Hannah Hampton. I do want to look at them and their performance. And if anybody has not had the chance to read the article about Hannah Hampton, I think it's in The Athletic, and how she is doing what she's doing on the world stage with the lack of, I think it's the lack of depth perception. I think is
yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing
ocular issue. Yeah,
the ocular issue that she has, and that she's able to function the way that she does. So we can talk about, since we're talking about Spain, we can get into Bonmatí, Batle, Paraguayo. There's a bunch of different talking points with Spain. Where do you want to go first?
Well, let's talk Bonmatí, my bestest friend, who I've been lucky to meet in life. A drive by, hey, take a photo with me on the streets of Wellington. She is, look, I think Ballon d'Or winner. I think, quite honestly, the most deserving of anyone out there when you look at what she consistently produces. I think if you're going to get real, technical, I think there's only one player who probably could beat her out for a Ballon d'Or, and that's her Spain teammate, but not club teammate, Mariana Caldente, who has put together a great season in her own right and scored the goal this game. So I think if you want to look at Bonmatí, she's great, but there's a couple other Spaniards who it's just so impressive, John, how across the board there are playmakers for this team. Bonmatí is the engine that keeps them running, though, and I think that's what makes her so important to the Spain team, is how she, I mean, the goal she scored in the semifinal was a fantastic bit of just raw talent combined with supreme intelligence, right? And I think that describes her so well. She is a smart but technically savvy and physically fit player. I mean, the woman was in the hospital just like I felt like 72 hours before their opener, and played in that game, which I wouldn't have personally played her, but I understand maybe a little bit the logic by making sure she can do it. But that's impressive, and for her to be, I mean, essentially a total mainstay for Spain in this tournament outside of the opener, speaks a hell of a lot to her mental and physical fortitude.
Yes, and so it was fun to see Caldente, Puteas, Bonmatí, Batla, Call. I mean, it's a fun group. It's a fun group to watch.
It is, and I think that's they're fun in a different way. I will continue to say that the U.S. women's national team is right up there with the talent level that Spain has, especially when at our fullest potential, right? But sorry, but Spain has a different level of talent, and I think the fact that they get to play together for the most part in their club does give them an advantage that the U.S. will just never have. The U.S. is not going to be a national team that has a bunch of their women play on the same club team, because NWSL is vastly different than what La Liga is, or any real European team.
Yeah.
Even if you look at the England team, right? I mean, it's a lot of Chelsea, it's a lot of Arsenal, and then you got a couple of the Manchesters strewn in.
Yeah.
Right. Now that, I think, breeds good competition within the league, which I'll always prefer league competition over, a bunch of players who play together. But what Barcelona is able to do to help the Spanish national team with Bonmatí, with Putellas, with Pina, with Catacol, with the entire back line is really helpful. And I think that helps with the continuity. I mean, obviously, all the coaches, I think, who have been for the Spanish national team have come out of some sort of Barcelona connection as well. There's no surprise there.
On the England side, and this is two separate ways to address this particular topic, aside from having removed James in the 40th minute, how do you not start Chloe Kelly?
I think Serena Wiegman is known for having her preferred lineup. And then she also has kind of a prescribed preferred set of subs, and Chloe Kelly happens to be one of them. You could argue that Chloe Kelly is able to be so impactful, because James is running at back lines for, well, this case it's only 40, but a lot of times 60 to 70 to 80 minutes.
Right.
And that allows Chloe Kelly to attack just tired legs. But hard to argue with Chloe Kelly's production and impact on the field for the English national team. She got the winner in 2022, and then scores the ceiling goal penalty kick for this one. It's pretty impressive. It's sad because you could tell immediately when she came onto the field the upgrade England had in the attack, and it's concerning that Lauren James was that hurt and playing. But sometimes that's what a final has, requires of people.
On the day, Chloe Kelly, 7.6, highest rated player, tied with Williamson at the back as a position player. Obviously, Hannah Hampton with an 8.2. She had the highest rating for SofaScore.
Chloe, she had to do a lot this game, John.
Yes, she did. We'll get it. 79 minutes, 1 assist, 1 shot on, 1 shot off, 1 penalty kick shootout goal, 31 touches for Chloe Kelly, 8 of 13 in passing, 2 key passes, 3 of 5 on crosses, 1 big chance created, 2 for 6 on her ground duels, 3 clearances, a pick, 2 tackles, and 3 dribbles passed. Yeah. So that gets into what Chloe Kelly was responsible for in that matchup.
Look, as an Arsenal fan, I'm very glad we sealed the deal on that one. I mean that sincerely. We were very fortunate to get her on the loan. I think she is a big reason why we ended up winning the Champions League. And if I can put some bets down right now, I think she would be a big reason why we win the league next year.
Yes, and obviously
that's my overconfident the season hasn't started Arsenal voice.
Hey,
don't ask me about the men's team because I might burst with confidence, which is a very dangerous space for an Arsenal fan to be in.
hey, look, I know, and we're getting into that. Hannah Hampton, we mentioned that she was the highest rated player on the day. Yes, she had a whole lot of work to do. So here's her numbers. Obviously, she plays the full 120. 4 saves, 1 punch clear, 2 for 2 on her runouts, 3 saves inside the 18, 2 PK saves, 66 touches, 29 to 53 passing at 55%. 13 to 37 on long balls. That is an insane number of attempts for me. Obviously, you're looking at 120 minutes also. 13 to 37 long balls, 2 clears on the day. Hannah Hampton, yes, both she and Catalina Call were very, very busy, sir.
Yeah, I think I do want to talk about Hampton because she wasn't the starter for this team a month and a half ago. Due to retirements, Mary Ars was supposed to be the starter, who is, by all accounts, a fantastic goalkeeper. And Hampton, she's been the starter for Chelsea. But even then, I'll just say it, I don't think she ever was like that super convincing starter at Chelsea. I think it's fair to say she had a shaky first game against France. And I personally was wondering, okay, how did she win the starting job? And I mean, because you have 2 other goalkeepers on the England backline, one who started for a league champion last year. That's Morehouse, who plays for Orlando Pride. And then you also have from Manchester City a trophy-winning goalkeeper in Cara Keating. That is a phenomenal shot stopper. So, like, that alone is I think a testament to Hampton's mental toughness that she won this job and kept it. Because it could have been very easy after the France match, the first time Serena Wiegmann has ever lost a match at the Euros, by the way, to say, okay, well, we're going to go with someone different. Because I don't know how settled the actual starting position was at that point, but apparently it was. And she lived up to that call to be the savior for England a couple times in that game.
Well, and also the idea of, I'm guessing it's Stickum or whatever it was, but you got to put your notes where you ever put your notes, right? I mean, Jordan Pickford does it on the water bottle.
Yep.
And Hannah Hampton apparently had it written down.
Yep.
And you get the stickum working, and you do your Post-it note right here, and then you put your keeper jersey over that, and you sit there. And apparently the physio had to like cut a seam to where to actually get to where you could tuck the arm up to put the stickum down, to put your notes down, to put your sleeve back down, so you can sit there and look at your notes, and everybody else is sitting there kind of looking at it going, okay. And then so Hannah Hampton's like, all right, I got my notes. I'm just reading. So just adjusting my sleeve here. That's all I'm doing. So one of the more unique ways to keep your notes, get your Cliff's notes in a situation like that.
Yeah. Like you said, people do it the way they need to.
Uh-huh.
So,
yeah. Yeah. So gamesmanship and all that. And studying. Hey, as long as if there ain't no rule on it, then you're going to do what you're going to do to get the advantage. And speaking of which, rules of the game, laws of the game. That was one heck of a divot that Beth Mead had in her first PK. So if you would please, sir, for those that are not familiar with this adjustment to things when it comes to kicking, please elaborate on what folks saw if they were initially confused.
All right. Well, if you want to follow along, you can go to your IFAB laws of the game, which, by the way, is where we're going to find the protocol for penalty kicks. And this is a new modification to the laws of the game, where if you have what essentially accounts to a double touch, kicking it twice, instead of it being a nullified goal penalty kick, and then what used to be an indirect free kick coming out, you get to retake it if the ball enters the back of the net. So had Beth Mead either it saved or she missed, we don't retake it.
Yeah.
But because she shanked it to the back of the net, it was very clear that it affected it. I think that was the other thing, is you could see that it came off of her plant foot, and that misdirected it the other way. I will say I'm a little curious about because the way I had it explained is that there are sensors in these balls. Obviously, these match balls have sensors in them. That's how they have the goal line technology and everything. And apparently, that's how they're able to determine that, right? Same with like a handball, I think, as well. But I don't understand how you couldn't just do a quick VAR check of this period and just, use the videotape to go, oh yeah, he definitely did. Or, like I think that was Atletico Madrid. This year in Champions League, or was it last year? I'm trying to remember.
Let's see. Julian Alvarez last season, Champions League. Yep, Julian Alvarez is double.
Yeah. Okay. So last time. So for this one, Beth Mead, she touches it twice. But why can't we just? I mean, sure, we need to censor. That's fine. But like, just use video to look at it. I don't know. I don't know, John, but this was an update from that incident last year, where now instead of it being a nullified and we have an infraction that results in an indirect free kick, we just take the kick over again. Now, where this does deviate from the laws of the game is typically if you have a double touch free kick, right?
Okay.
Then you do have what would be an indirect free kick for the opposing team. There you go.
Okay. Then you end up with Chloe Kelly with, I mean, if we thought that Joseph had a unique approach when it came to PKs, Chloe Kelly got her a real unique and interesting way to look at things. It's like high knee lift. It's like she's like Mr. Wrestling 2 with the high knee lift and then all that kind of stuff. That has got to be. I do not envy keepers in this situation because of the whole start-stop nature of PKs and all of the movement and all this kind of stuff. I do not envy them with the current laws of the game being what they are.
I will say this.
Yeah.
I think this is not as problematic as the true start-stop.
Yeah.
This is I would argue, if Bart were to wave his magic wand and be able to make a law change, you would have to have once you start your run up, you cannot stop it or whatever.
Yeah.
This would fit into that, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because she just lifts her leg up high and then kind of does her run up. There's no real stop, right? Yeah. But I think this is a really good psychological thing, I think, more than anything, for the kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think of it a little bit like free throws.
Yeah.
In the fact that a lot of NBA players have like a very, it may not seem like it's super in depth.
Yeah.
But a lot of NBA players, a lot of basketball players, a lot of tennis players as well, have a routine that they go through before a free throw or a serve, right? I know, like I do. I played tennis for, well, a long time. And I've now started playing pickleball a little bit. And I have the same kind of routine, even when I played like ping pong, right?
Yeah.
I have a service routine.
Yep.
This to me is very much like that. Now, obviously, a service routine happens every point when you're serving. This is you do it every once in a while type thing. Hopefully you're not doing it at all.
Yeah, if you're Chloe Kelly and it's a 40-yard piece. It's like, I'm gonna lift my knee and go and scene,
Yeah.
I
don't think, she's not doing it for that.
Yeah.
But this is she actually does the little ball flick, by the way, for corner kicks. I don't know if you mentioned that. She kind of does the ball spin 3 times.
Okay.
She still does that on her corner kicks. But I think it's a psychological thing for the kicker.
Yeah.
To create a routine so that they have some level of consistency and control in that moment. This goes into sports psych.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk about that, go get a degree in that or go take a class at a local community college, because it is quite interesting, the benefits of routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a conversation once with Jack Llewellyn, and Jack was a longtime sports psychologist, and he helped out the Braves in their glory years. And he would talk to place kickers in National Football League, and he would go to their habits and have those be those trigger words, like you're going to approach something. And there was one particular player who he consulted, big golfer, like scratch golfer.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave him the word birdie as like something to think about when he's out there playing football, getting ready to kick a field goal or kick a ball in a key moment. Think birdie in your approach, because that's, successful going up against the scorecard in golf. And so it's those kinds of things that you see with sports psychologists that are those kinds of trigger words as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, visualization is a great tool. And I think that goes to that is like, hey, you're thinking about, we're doing this in a positive way. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, again, I'll speak to this from, again, my own kind of standpoint. I do on occasion take penalty kicks, and I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to miss. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to put this right here and I'm going to score. Little things like that are what I think people don't realize make professional athletes successful. And I think Chloe Kelly is a great example of both a routine working in her favor and then what clearly is a mindset. Because even the one that she missed, right, against Italy, well, she still scored it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
are Mary Earps and Millie Bright going to regret walking out on their team?
No, I don't think so. I think Earp seems to be a little bit more of a personal decision. She said she was done. Now, regret maybe, but like I don't think they're going to be that. I think Earps had reached her point where she thought it was time for her to back away. Millie Bright maybe, but I mean, I think it's fair to say that was a mutual parting. I think she realized she wasn't going to be playing the role she had in previous tournaments, and that's on her. But no, I mean, I think they're going to be the biggest cheerleaders for this team. And honestly, one of the things that I think has been a positive over the past 5 years, not Blacko, but other people have encouraged women's soccer players to decouple the national team and club team careers. And so you're able to retire from the national team understanding like, hey, I'm not at that level anymore at 31, 32, 33 years old, but yeah, I can still play club ball. And so I think, especially for Millie Bright, I think she'll be fine in her club career going forward, but probably okay to not have the demands and extra stress on her body that a national team career puts on you.
And Lucy Bronze played the entire Euro with a broken tibia.
She's apparently she's a different type of human. She really is. That is impressive, though. I mean, that is hockey player level.
Yeah,
toughness.
Quote after the match: "I've actually played the whole tournament with a fractured tibia, but no one knew. Then I've just hurt my knee today on the other leg. I think that's why I got a lot of praise from the girls after the Sweden game because I've been in a lot of pain, but that's what it takes to play for England. That's what I'll do.
That's what
I think we inspire each other by playing through things like that, and they got us to the end of them. In the end, it was very painful, but I'm going to party and going to enjoy it. That's it."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, weirdly, the pain goes away when you've lifted a trophy. But I mean, John, 90 minutes against France, 84 against Netherlands. Her shortest game, 79 minutes against Wales.
Yeah, on a broken tib.
Yeah, not a complete fracture. Still, Abby, I don't want to play a 2 back-to-back 120-minute games on a cracked fibia. That doesn't sound great. And then 105 against Spain. So yeah, her shortest outing was still 79 minutes.
Yeah, I mean look, you got a cracked tib. Look, full disclosure, I broke my fibula in high school. Bicycling. What I would do to stay in shape is I would bicycle 5 to 10 miles a couple times a week. You know, if I got bored, I'd go for an extra lap. And so snapped my fibula. I went into the doctor's office. He said, of all the useless bones in the body to break, you broke one. And it was 8 weeks in a cast. And I could do virtually nothing because it was the fibula. Fibula is the one in the back. Tibia is the one in the front. So basically, think of it this way. Somebody kicks you hard enough on the front bone of the leg, and it's got a crack in it, and you play all those minutes that you play to help your team win a tournament. Lucy Bronze did exactly that. That's crazy to me. But, Lucy Bronze might be just crazy when you're playing.
I think she might be. I think anyone who's met her would probably say she's a little bit crazy. So,
one more player I want to focus on for England is what do you think the price tag is going to be for Michelle Adjumong going forward?
Well, that is an interesting one. It depends on if Arsenal truly wants to sell her. I think right now, at least this past season, Arsenal had Alessia Russo and then Stina Blackstenius in that central striker role, as well as Lena Hurtig, but that's not quite the same. She's retired now. I think if you're Arsenal, you're looking at truly, are you able to let Stina walk? And that's going to be a little sad because she's been a club favorite for quite some time. Obviously scored the game winner in the UEFA Champions League final this past May. But if you're looking at it, you can go, okay, well, we can kind of maybe let Stina or another player like that walk. Bring back Michelle because she's at Brighton. That I think could be the possibility. The other possibility is you're looking at, I don't know about record breaking, but possibly. I mean, the record right now is Arsenal trading for Olivia Smith for £1.2 million.
Yeah.
Which was more than Chelsea bought Naomi Girma for. I don't know if I quite agree with that. I think Girma is a much better player than Smith, but Smith is an attacking player and Girma is a defender. And we know how that goes, John.
Yeah.
So I think Adjumong will. It's got to be close to $1 million, I think. Yeah. I mean, it could be 900, but I think close to $1 million for someone of that age who is already producing so much at the national international level. We shall see. Yep. I think Arsenal has a choice to make here. Do you keep the young up and coming talent, or do you cash in on her? I don't know.
Bart the GM. Yes, nothing like that. Jarrett's now joining us for cards and calls and other things. I had my first question for you, Bart, has to do with a 5th-minute yellow card.
I heard you talking about this on the post-game show.
Mm-hmm. And as much as I didn't get the chance to go into it, it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, you really better be sure about that, because that should dictate your pace for fouling, carding, etc. And for some reason, it did not. So I guess I'm trying to approach this in 2 separate ways. 5th-minute yellow, you better be confident. Yes, it was a professional foul, that I'm not denying. But for you to do that, there were other opportunities in the match to do the same thing, yet you were compelled for whatever reason not to do it. Once again, the inconsistencies drive me crazy when it comes to officiating.
Yeah, I think first off, I'll just say that not just because you give a yellow card in the 5th minute doesn't mean you need to be giving a yellow card out every 5 minutes, because as you said, that type of foul is a yellow card, point blank, period. But as we've kind of seen, apparently professional fouls don't count as yellow cards when you're playing against Atlanta United. Again, we talked about this last week where Pep Biel should have been off because Charlotte's bunch of low-down dirty cheaters.
Low-down dirty.
They got away with it.
Yes.
This kind of feels a little bit like that. We're like, yeah, okay, Steen gets a yellow card for a what is stopping a promising attack. Totally agree. That needs to be applied, consistently across the board. I don't think that the referee necessarily 13 fouls, 2 yellow cards for Seattle, 11 fouls, 2 for Atlanta. That feels somewhat fair, but I think to your point of, okay, I don't know if this was a match, we needed to control the tempo of the match or the stress and heat of the match that early, or if it was just like, oh, that's a stopping a promising attack, here you go, and the referee didn't catch it the rest of the game.
That's what I'm saying. Jarrett, welcome on a Monday. What's on your mind?
So, to that point, give credit to. I missed this last week, obviously, with Bart's complaint about Charlotte and persistent infringement.
Well, do you agree or disagree that Charlotte are a bunch of low-down dirty cheaters?
I find them tiresome. I find Dean Smith very tiresome, and I'm going to be honest with you. If you listen to Dean Smith's postgame, there's a lot of times where, especially when they were struggling, where I like it. I'm amazed at some of the stuff he has said about, like, he's like, man, this is kind of like that separation with coaches in college and the NFL, where I'm like, you can talk to kids that way. It's hard to talk to adults that way. He just gets very high and mighty on them sometimes. I digress. So one of the things, he laid the groundwork for that in the victory in Charlotte, because he threw a fit when they got a persistent infringement yellow because they kept kicking Miguel Almiron. Like 4 different guys kicked him inside of like 5 minutes, and the ref gave a persistent infringement yellow, and he's like, that never happens for us. I promise it does, Dean. Also, you have Wilfred Zaha, who has never met an official. He did not set against him. So I don't know if you saw the Nashville game this week.
No.
There was a very interesting group of decisions on the officiating front. So Nashville has one of their outside backs who proceeds to get a yellow card. It's a harsh yellow, but then he immediately commits a foul right afterward. And a couple minutes later, he stops a promising attempt to counter. Like, guy gets the ball with the defender on his back, tries to turn, and is pulled down. It is not given as a second yellow. And what we were discussing about this, Bart, is those situations where and I get that there are times when you don't want to impact the game more so than you already are by sending a player off. But when a player is begging to be sent off and you don't do it, he boxed himself in for the rest of the game on what was and was not a yellow card.
Yeah, 100%. So I think you can. What bothers me is a stopping a promising attack yellow card needs to be compulsory, because that is the defender admitting, I'll take the yellow card. just what it is.
Yeah.
You know, commit that type of foul in an area that is stopping a promising attack, then you need to look at it and say, okay, you earned it. And to your point, I think, you know, you don't want to send off a player for 2 yellow cards, because you do kind of want to reserve a red card for a serious incident. But if you're committing 2 yellow card fouls, that's on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my fault as a referee that you did the 2 things that are yellow cards. And I get your point of, if you're going to give a yellow card for a certain type of foul, you need to be consistent throughout the rest of the game. And, you know, Nashville maybe got a little lucky. Didn't help them, but they got a little lucky.
It set up this situation where San Diego correctly, so Chucky Lozano was absolutely a terrorist on the left side of the field in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Weird, they signed a good player and he turned out being good. I hate when that happens.
Andres Guardado was right there, man. They could have been like every other team in MLS that has come into the league since 2015 and threatened to sign Andres Guardado and didn't do it.
Yeah.
They said we'll take Chucky.
But he set himself up for this situation where every time there was a foul, he was getting grouped and crowded by these San Diego players who were correctly like, hey, you can't give it yellow here. Can't give a yellow. Oh, you got to give a yellow for that. So I think he gave 1 yellow to a San Diego player late in the game. But other than that, he kind of boxed himself in where you couldn't not send that guy off with a second yellow and then turn around and give yellow cards for practically anything short of assault and battery.
Well, and I think one of the things that I would agree with Jason is, if you get a yellow card, so Lovitz gets a yellow card in 69th minute? Is that who we're talking about here?
Well, I think it's Palacios, I think, is who Jared is revved up about, and he should be, because Palacios was the one who was completely and totally just raising hell.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
Correct. Palacios was actively in hell in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because they kept targeting him. But it was good for San Diego. They had an advantage. They took advantage of it. And the thing is, I thought his first yellow card was a little harsh. I thought he was a little quick with yellow and kind of put himself into a situation where, well, you just gave a soft yellow to this guy. But then Palacios commits a foul 8 seconds later, and then another bad one 3 minutes later. I'm like, well, now you've put yourself in a really bad situation.
I mean, he only committed 3 fouls in the match, which is not really persistent infringement overall. But what you described there, Jarrett, is you have 3 in a row. That is absolutely persistent infringement, regardless, right? I mean, you can't commit 3 fouls in 5 minutes and be like, I'm good, it's fine. That's worth a yellow card. You're being careless. Mm-hmm. And that is a point of contention. I agree. I think that's something that I would like to see a better consistency. And this is something I say to myself, of compulsory yellow cards, because it's also remembering that I have to give the yellow card for that thing. And sometimes it's look, they're professionals. I would expect them to be a little bit more on it, but it's something
So then let me ask you this. How hard is it to remember for a center ref sometimes? Oh yeah, I've got to go back and I have to, you've got a moment that's filed away. How difficult is it to circle back? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to, because of what happened earlier.
It is. So especially when it comes to, I do think stopping a promising attack is a harder one, because sometimes you don't have the full field awareness of where the foul occurred on the field, right? Especially if it's in the attacking team's half the field, right? And this, I think, was what happened with the Pep Biel foul, is that it was kind of in our half of the field, even though I think it was in the center circle. But that can be hard, because you're going, okay, is that really a promising attack? Right. We do not have the 11v11, the all 22 camera, or even the sideline camera where you can see, oh, well, there's only 3 guys. It's hard. So that is definitely one that a little more difficult. However, a lot of times the action itself is pretty damning when it comes to what is stopping a promising attack. grabbing someone by the back of the jersey.
Yeah.
Those types of actions, we don't read intent, but you can clearly see intent when someone's trying to just stop an attack from happening. And we can be a little bit more, we need to be a little bit more ready to issue that card. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. And that was because, having Jarrett remind us about the adventures of Palacios on the weekend, where literally it's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it, and you're going to keep doing it until whenever. You keep pushing that line, you keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And if there's no response from the center ref, then okay. So that's the bar. And it's, I'm going to keep going up against it until you literally do something. Kid's going to be, obnoxious and noisy. And sometimes you just got to pop him in the butt.
Yeah. I mean, your words, not mine. I'm not a parent. So
look,
but that's how it feels like.
I'm talking about on the receiving end of that one, brother. I am not a parent.
Look, sometimes when you're officiating a game, you have to threaten to pull this car over and turn this car around. We will go home. We are not going to Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
100%. I do agree with that. Jordan, your question about yellow card accumulation for Leagues Cup, since it's a referee thing. 3 yellow cards in phase 1. Whatever that means nowadays.
Well, it's not group stage. Literally, it's like
I know
the top 4 teams advance, and basically what they're trying to do is encourage, they're trying to encourage wins and goals and goal difference. That's what.
I get it. Phase 1. Group stage. They're not group stage.
No.
Yeah.
No.
3 yellow cards. I know. 3 the league phase, whatever.
Stop trying to make fetch happen, Garber.
I know. Yeah. 3 yellow cards through phase 1 will be suspended for the match following your 3rd yellow card. So really what it's saying is, if you get a yellow card in all 3 games, Franco Escobar, you will be suspended for the next match. But they reset at the quarterfinals. So I think there's only quarterfinals. It's only quarterfinals, semifinals, finals.
Right. It goes
in this one.
It goes 8-4-2. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically 3 matches you're suspended.
Yeah.
So phase 1, there's only 3 matches in phase 1, if I'm correct about this tournament. I don't care about because Atlanta United has never won a game.
The group that you are in is phase 1.
Right. You play 3 matches.
Yes.
So if you get a yellow card in all 3 of those matches, you'll be suspended for the quarterfinals. Yeah. But they reset basically once we hit knockout phase, they do reset. So if you have 2 yellow cards through phase 1, you have 0 once the quarterfinals start. But if you do have the 3 during the phase 1, which again would be a yellow card every game,
yes, then
you would have to miss the next match, which would be the quarterfinal.
Yeah. And then you're fine.
But then it resets, and you're basically fine because it's 3 yellow cards.
Quarterfinal, you sit. Semifinal, final.
Yeah. Yellow cards and penalty kicks that will apply in accordance with the penalty kick procedure set forth below. So we'll get into that later. But so basically, Jordan, I don't think there's there's no real possibility of an Atlanta United player missing a match because we were not going to win any matches in the phase 1 because we've never won a match in this entire tournament. And we won't have to worry about them missing a quarterfinal match. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be positive about Atlanta United on this show. We're only allowed to be positive about the team.
Sir.
Have you listened to me talk for the last 4 months?
Jared, you and I are in the same boat. We're just over it. I think we are just like, could y'all just...
Do you know what my nights consist of now? Here's my timeline. You know what the great thing about where I live now is the game's at 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm cooking dinner and watching the game and going, wow, those are some really good moments. By the way, we're back to early season kinds of struggles, which translates to, instead of 90 minutes of being frustrated, you're going for 45 minutes going, oh my God, what might have been?
Mm-hmm.
And then
2
you
games
go
in a row.
And then everyone takes an Ambien at halftime and curls up with a good book. And then the final whistle blows. After Alexei Miranchuk, who had 0 interest in celebrating that goal, and was give Alexei credit. Man was all business. That was the reaction of a man who was so sick of this entire season, and he's just out here hitting bangers because he can.
Yeah.
But the Ambien wore off, 89th, 90th minute.
Yeah.
But the game's at 5:30, 7:30. Game's over. I move on to the RSL game.
Yeah, you move on to your
down
local
the street.
Yeah,
but it's 7:30. That game ends at 9:30. Like, do you know how wonderful this is? I'm going to get SEC games at 1:30 in the fall.
Oh wow, that's right. You get you get the 10 o'clock a.m.
Honest, yeah, you get some 10 a.m.
You get some 10 a.m. SEC kickoffs.
Big 10 a.m. kickoff for Jarrett Smith over here.
Yes, I'm trying to live right.
I know.
Even the late night Galaxy games come on at like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, you got
8:30.
8 and 8:30 Galaxy games. Bart, is Mia Fischel still a good player to watch?
Yes.
Right.
She had an injury issue when she went to Chelsea. Like literally got hurt immediately upon joining Chelsea. She's now back in NWSL, and I think that will help her. You got to remember, we haven't seen a true. We have Soph Wilson, obviously, but she's pregnant, so she won't be playing for a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a true number 9 that can back up Kat Macario yet. I think we've tried Lynn Biondolo. It hasn't quite worked the same way. Fischel is still a player that's worth keeping an eye on because I think she can be, if you're looking at building a roster, she's a little bit bigger, taller, stronger than the other two, much better in the air, and actually is good at that. So, if you're building a tournament roster, that's a pretty good player to have in it. She's also pretty technically gifted. She's not like she's not just to lump it at her and she'll head it home. So she's still a good player to watch. She just has been injured what feels like a year and a half.
Probably not.
Derek, that's 100% correct. I am happy those games end early so I can go to bed. I'm tired at the end of the day.
Jared, are you on the camp of like concerts should start at like 7 on the dot?
No, I can get myself geared up for a concert to go later because I've done enough I've worked enough concerts and I've gone to enough concerts to understand that the doors are at 7. The show starts at 8. I'm like, that's the opening act.
Mm-hmm.
I got to wait till 9 for my band to come on, maybe 9:30, 10.
Listen,
and that's okay, totally okay. I can gear myself up for that. But yeah, like I can gear myself up to stay up late and watch a game.
Okay.
But I'm also not going to look a gift horse in the mouth when the game ends at 7:30 and I can go about my day. That part's great. Zero complaints. Here's my question for Bart. Has England burned all of their good fortune in this tournament or just most of it? Not to say they weren't good. I'm not saying they were not good and they were not worthy champions of that tournament, but holy hell, the amount of horseshoes and lucky rabbit's foots that team had at times this tournament, and never apologize for good luck, but holy hell.
Well, I'll say this. I think they're going to have a little bit of a more roster turnover heading to 2027. I think people forget that the Women's World Cup is 2 full years away.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Spain. I think Spain's the one I'm a little bit more concerned with having a drop-off, Jarrett, because their current generation has been really good for a long time. I'm not like fully convinced that the next generation is that great. Potteruelo is good, but like the rest, Pina's okay. Pina's great, but like, do you have enough in the tank behind that? So Barcelona's got to start, churning out some better players. I think when you're looking at England, the luck might be certain players may have gotten a little lucky. Maybe that cumulative luck. And if you bring in some new players, then the cumulative luck will reset. So maybe that's the key for England in 2027. But like I said, they're not in the Nations League finals. So I ain't got to worry about that. They have, a year until they have any real thing to worry about.
Yes. So what's the latest for SoccerForUSPod?
We are hopefully recording tomorrow.
There you go.
That is the plan. Okay. And we are not talking about the USMNT.
Okay.
Because what are we going to talk about? They ain't doing nothing right now.
No, I ain't doing nothing.
That feels like a healthy decision.
Right. Also that, Jarrett. We need a break. We are talking a little MLS. We're talking USMNT in the We'll be talking CONCACAF rankings. I don't know if you saw the rankings that came out post.
Yeah, that was weird.
We'll try to explain why, and it comes down to Costa Rica got to play a bunch of World Cup qualifiers. The U.S. didn't get to play while the U.S. was losing.
So it was so it was a bulk buy for Costa Rica is what got them higher rank?
Yeah, so the CONCACAF rankings rank your performances in CONCACAF competitions higher than anything else.
Okay.
So the weight is given toward those. And so while the U.S. has gone farther in all these CONCACAF competitions, technically Costa Rica has played more of those matches, because you think about in March, well, we lost both of those matches, and that's not great. We did get to the final, right? But we really, in theory, only played 2 more matches in Costa Rica. And technically, we didn't beat Costa Rica according to rankings, because as y'all should know, winning in a penalty kick shootout is not a win. You just advance. The game technically ends in a draw, which is dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But what do I know? So they, because of the World Cup qualifiers, John, I'm getting that upper plate thing that I'm
right there with you, brother.
Because of the World Cup qualifiers that Costa Rica has played recently, those just matter more, right? You get more points and especially if you win them, which they've been playing worse teams than the U.S. has played, but they win, so that's more points. Now, I still think it's crazy that the U.S. has now dropped down to 5th, but we will be talking about that, as well as some other quick hit topics about MLS and U.S. soccer that aren't necessarily USMNT related.
Okay, looking forward to it as always with the Soccer for USPod.
We're in a lull, Jarrett. We don't even have NWSL to talk about. They're not. So we gotta make stuff up.
Well,
they come back soon. We come back this week.
So the monkey's paw, the monkey's paw did the like bent for me personally, in that I was like, man, I was so excited. Like, I'm going to move somewhere that has an NWSL team. I moved somewhere the NWSL team that's 1, 2, and 10.
Yeah, but maybe they'll be good soon.
Maybe they'll be good in the second half of the year like they were last year, and inexplicably bad in the first half of the year like they are this year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Because I went to the Seattle Reign game on the 21st in June, and Jesus Christ.
Maybe the silver lining, Jared, is you get to see other good NWSL teams come to Salt Lake.
I mean, yeah, like Seattle were fine. They were fine. They weren't amazing.
Fine.
They were just kind of there, but they never really got out of third gear.
They were fine.
You get Orlando this. No, that's away. Just
no.
Kansas City and Angel City coming up.
Yeah,
that might be fun.
Oh, Jesus Christ, no.
Well, it'll be fun to go watch Kansas City.
Is it funny that Kansas City and Utah volleyed a team back and forth for a while? Now they both have teams, and Kansas City has basically turned into a Sentinel from X-Men.
I mean, you build your own barn, you invest what you invest, and you get what you pay for, yeah?
It's supposed to work
like
that. It doesn't always.
That's Denver's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Cotopaxi FC is going to do that.
Yes. Yes. Cotopaxi FC. Go look up the reference, and we're going to end up buying all the gear. As always, Bart.
It's a beautiful logo.
Oh, absolutely it is. Bart, is always great to catch up with you on Mondays, my friend. And you know that if there's anything else going on in your brain, you got the keys to the garage door. You can crash it anytime.
Look, John, I am drinking out of the Atlanta United mug today. Yeah. Okay. I have personally decided I will no longer be tending to matches this year, because I would rather spend my time and energies not being stressed out by this team. But
crazy.
I enjoyed a great hot pot on Saturday night instead of, and now, granted, I was, the phone was set up there as I'm eating, but not having to fully be involved. But yeah, it was at the tailgate. It was good to see that. I think my parting message would be, we still have a great community around Atlanta United, even if our team and our club hates us and doesn't want us to actually experience joy.
Stop.
We have great people in the Atlanta United community, and we are blessed to have those people. 2 of y'all among that, some of y'all in the chat among that. So thank you all for making it special, and we'll get through this season. And apparently we don't have anything to look forward toward for the next 2 years anyway. So, we'll get there eventually.
As always, Bart.
And there's my parting shot.
Bang. Yes. Bye. There goes Bart.
Parthian archers and their best.
Yes.
You know what though? It's there is a certain once you make peace with the fact look, this season is kind of cooked. And I say kind of because I always say kind of because you're not mathematically cooked.
And that's what that's where I always have as my basis in the conversations we have. Until you are mathematically eliminated, you're still chasing after something. Coaches are always looking at players. Front office is looking to always improve. I would rather have a front office and a coaching staff that is willing to continue to chase and try to make yourself better and hit the ground running for whatever the following months are, instead of just sitting there going and being all droopy dog about everything and going, I don't know.
Well, the thing is you have, again, we've talked about this before. The winter window this year should be a super bloodbath. I know Alex Bazzini and I have talked about this summer window being a bloodbath. The winter should be even more so, because you have a lot of guys who are out of contract or coming up on options. 15. I have no interest in picking up.
Yeah, 15 players ended this season.
Yeah, great. Beautiful, because what you have isn't working. So anyway, as I was saying, things pretty much cooked. Once you make peace with the fact that you're cooked, there is a certain sick joy you can get in. I think Atlanta leads the league in draws. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Because you're going to play teams that are at or above the playoff line. Keep doing draws. And keep doing it in the 93rd minute. If you're not going to make the playoffs, if you're not going to spark joy on a daily basis in terms of wins, playing the spoiler role as someone who has watched the Atlanta Falcons since they were a small child, which was a terrible decision to make as a small child, to invest in that team emotionally, at least ruin. If you're not going to have a good year, at least ruin everyone else's year. Screw someone out of the playoffs with a late draw, on decision day, score a goal in the 93rd minute and knock someone out of the playoffs, and make sure to drag someone down into the misery with you. Well, the least you can do is drag someone down there with you.
Well, that's like the old Calvin and Hobbes cartoon that we always reference, where Calvin comes to school and he's in a really foul mood, and Susie comes up and she's wondering why he's in a foul mood. And he really doesn't give a whole lot of great answers to Susie or anything and just continues to piss her off. And then Susie leaves the conversation being in a bad mood. And to your point, that's how the frames end, is that there's nothing better than sharing your bad mood with somebody else. And that was that was the base of the cartoon.
And so here comes the bearing of being Falcons fan Falcons being prepared you for being an Atlanta sports fan. But every franchise has had their only two franchises in the city current of the major sports franchises. If you're gonna twist my arm and tell me the Georgia Swarm are 3, cool, fine, 3. That 1 year, and I think it was 2016 when they won the lacrosse national championship. Up in Calgary or something. The Thomas brothers just started mauling people with a lacrosse stick. It was great.
Oh yeah. Lyle
Thomas scoring 5 goals a game.
Yeah.
The rest of them have given you something that is fun at different points. The Falcons, up until the Super Bowl 51, up until the fourth quarter, that's a great ride.
2017 was the Swarm won the NLL championship.
Okay. 1998, absolutely fun ride for the Falcons. Hawks had some fun rides. The Braves have had some amazingly fun rides, and in fact, I'm very pissy about the Braves right now. Not necessarily because they're bad, but because everyone's acting like the Braves are the Miami Marlins, and everyone is dooming and glooming this team that, it's 4 years on since you won a title. The goodwill's mostly gone from that, and you need to spend some money because you're pulling in an obscene number of revenue because Cobb County is paying for your stadium. Do not publicly fund your stadiums. I swear to Christ, stop doing it. Let the billionaires pay for their own damn stadiums.
Yeah.
But you're not spending in all areas, and that'd be great if you were, but don't act like this team a year or two ago was not just fine. Even last year when they made the wild card, their advanced metrics were like through the roof. They were just unfortunate. And this year they're just banged up and guys are underperforming. Shit happens.
Yes.
Don't treat the Braves like they are some perennial loser and where you get to pretend you're a sad sack about it all. Every franchise here has given you good and bad. The thing with Atlanta is that it is more extreme when it happens. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. And Atlanta United has been stuck in the mud for a while, but it's never been like stuck in the mud for an entire season. Well, I say that 2020 was definitely stuck in the mud for the entire season, because because again, the fulcrum of everything is Joseph blowing his knee out in Nashville, because Frank de Boer's fired, and MLS is back, and you limp through the rest of the season.
Butterfly effect right there. That's your butterfly effect moment.
And then Frank de Boer's fired, and you move on. But like after Heinze is fired, like Gonzalo Pineda comes in, and you make the playoffs. Like you have some fun moments there. Like you get the end of 23, like the summer window in 23, and you come out of the gates firing, and you're really fun, and you take Columbus to a third game. Like last year, you get the late season push with Rob. Like it has never really been a full, aside from the COVID year, it feels like you haven't really had like the full season of misery.
Yeah,
like you've had stretches of fun and exciting and optimism. So that part's great. And yeah, you'll try and get back to it. And they consistently try and swing big to get back into it, which I appreciate, because I would rather you try and swing big, than not swing at all. Now, would I sometimes rather you swing smaller and smarter?
Just make contact and get on base.
Get somebody over, like hit that ground ball to the first base side and get the runner over to third? Yes. Does that mean that I like? John, we talked about this in the green room when he was sold. When Joveljic was sold to Kansas City, I'm like, if I knew he was available, I'd have taken Joveljic here right now.
Yeah.
Like, I would have happily taken Joveljic in Atlanta and saved the $20+ million you spent on Emmanuel Latelat and spent it elsewhere. And it's not to say that Latelat isn't trying. He has absolutely disappointed this year.
You know what the Bishop can bring you, though.
Yeah, it's not a matter of, he's not trying. It is, he is not converted. He's not getting a ton of chances, but he's not converting the chances you get for him, and he has not performed to the valuation that you set for him. But then most of your players have not performed to the valuation that you set for them. And those are one of those moments where I'm like, if Joveljic was available, go get him and pocket that $20 million or spend it elsewhere. Again, we'll see what they do in the winter. And again, I know that's a broken record. I know we are in a very exhaustive sequence where every year it feels like you're okay. Now you're like resetting the board. I'm like, yeah, people are tired of resetting the board because it's exhausting. It's not what you want to spend your time doing.
Yeah, Groundhog Day is not fun. Soccer on TV today. BN en Español simulcasting the Polish League, Katowice and Zagłębie Lubin at 1:00. Get your BN at fntz.co/soccer down here. So it's all the BNs. It is Nuestro Telesitio for the fans, Liga 1, Liga 1 Max Pro, Teisei, our buddy Nino Torres, and everything at Gold TV. You can get that there. The Marshall Islands are announcing their starting roster for the 11v11 Outrigger Challenge Cup coming up in 2 weeks in Springdale, Arkansas. And keep an eye on that. You want scarves, you get them from me. You want everything else, buy out the store, get it from them. And they also have the opportunity to pick up more gear at b-unlimited.com, I think. They had a pre-sale, and they're trying to make sure that you are Marshall Island up before the Outrigger Challenge Cup coming up in 2 weeks in Arkansas. You can go to Olive & York, get the SDH jersey, and you can get it personalized either with white or with double blue. lighter blue, Carolina blue, whatever you want to call it. Consult Alex and Abby to figure out which one is best for you. That helps out our Soccer for Good campaign. Beyond Goals Mentoring on one sleeve, Soccer for Good on the other sleeve. Don't forget, read Caroline Hood's wrap up at soccerdownhere.net on everything in the Euros. And soccerdownhere.net, you can get your SDH gear. We do not have the retro stuff that I'm wearing. This is stuff that I have actually had the boss make sure that she navigates the laundry very well. So I've kept this from the very beginning. And also, you can go and get Jason's Retrified Attack and Ruckus stuff at soccerdownhere.net. Go to Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. You can get the Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta gold embossed red or black sweatshirt or T-shirt. You help out the Atlanta Public Schools middle school soccer programs. You can do that by going to Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. and helping out there as well. You can become a Fanatico for $10 a year. What do you do for $10 a year? You probably, it's like one less trip to Starbucks. You can go to the Chant app, download it, become a Fanatico. A lot of great discounts there that are a part of anything and everything going on at SDH. And don't forget, this Friday, Brew House, 4 to 9. And unless Jarrett's going to fly in, he's not going to be there. So you can be there instead of Jarrett. Yes. So you can be there instead of Jarrett on Friday. And from 4 to 9, it's a big Premier League blowout. Trophy's going to be there for about 90 minutes in the middle of it all. Maddie's going to be talking to fans of all 4 teams coming in this weekend for Summer Series. Egan's going to be there talking to Wes Brown from Manchester United. That's going to be a part of it all. Go to Eventbrite, get your tickets, go to the Brew House, get your stuff, be there. Big blowout, stuff inside and outside the Brew House, and you get to see us. You get to see the trophy, and you get to be ready for everything going on Sunday involving the Summer Series in the Premier League at Mercedes-Benz.
Jesus. Okay, so apparently, according to Build, and this will be my swan song
Sure.
of the day.
Sure.
MLS is having to intervene and mediate the Tomas Mula situation. So, for those of you that don't know,
I don't know if did you go over this already?
I've not had the chance. It is on the
Okay. So Tomas Mula is lining up to is lining up to go to Vancouver,
right?
To go play in British Columbia. However, the discovery rights sit with Cincinnati, and apparently Cincinnati is being big silly heads about it.
They're being a honkus about it, yeah.
So we went over this a couple of years ago with the LA Galaxy getting Marco Royce, and I think it was Charlotte had his rights.
Yeah.
And Charlotte was like, well, we wanted him. And basically MLS will come in and say, that's great that you want him. You know, this discoveries rights thing that we put into effect and created our own problem here. Yeah. We're going to mediate you figuring out how much money you're going to get. So what's going to end up happening is Vancouver is going to give Cincinnati a bunch of money, a couple $100,000 in GAM.
Yeah.
Maybe, $450,000 if you asked me to twist. If you twisted my arm and asked me, I would say this ends at like $450.
Yeah.
In GAM.
Yeah.
Then you will give it to Cincinnati. Cincinnati will piss off and will give you the discovery rights.
Yeah.
What I don't expect to happen is for Cincinnati to sit there and hold their breath like a spoiled toddler in a Kmart because they didn't get a toy and kill this deal entirely. Yeah. I cannot see a world in which the league allows Tomas Mula to fall through to Vancouver simply because Cincinnati is throwing a piss fit. And then maybe MLS can have a decision and have a meeting at some point and go, you know what? Discovery rights are causing more problems than they're worth.
Dibs are stupid. Dibs rights are dumb. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom lines. And we have yet to discuss, and we'll discuss it tomorrow along with everything else going on and around the league, Vancouver's stadium situation and people in Fort Lauderdale who are mad about the rules of engagement as they currently exist involving all-star games and league events and things like that.
This is the same shit. First off, Jorge Mas has spent his entirety complaining about any and everything that doesn't bend to his will since he's been involved with Orlando, since Miami.
Oh,
God, I'm so sorry, Orlando. You deserve better because you actually have a sane setup right now and a sane manager who beat Columbus by 2 goals over the weekend.
And it took you a long time to get to that. Yeah.
Well, they played well.
Yeah,
Orlando was good in that game.
Yeah.
So Moss is complaining about Messi, and then now you're floating the stories. Well, this might impact him. Is if he stays like this. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. Stop. You knew the rule. This is getting mad at This is like getting mad at the meter maid who is coming around and giving you a ticket after you left your car parked on the curb, where it says "Do not park," and you didn't leave it for 5 minutes so you could run inside and drop something off. You left it there for 2 hours, and then you're mad about the ticket on there. You understand that there are rules in place. The rules apply to everybody. And by the way, you could have gotten around this. Just come out and say, hey, the last game before the All-Star break, you're talking to Messi. Hey, you going to go play in the All-Star game? Hell no, I don't want to go play in the All-Star game. Great. Hey, Messi's on our injury report.
You got an out.
He's questionable with a hamstring injury. Yeah. He ends up playing in that game. Great. Hey, that hamstring got aggravated. He can't do the All-Star game. He cannot play. And just put him on and say he's too injured. Have somebody come in and replace him. Yeah. And give the league a run up and say, hey.
Same with Jordi.
Messi's banged up. Hamstring he was already sore. He was on our injury report. Yeah. And it got aggravated. He can't play. Yeah. Have someone come in and replace him. Yeah. Sorry. It happens. And then for the next 3 games after the All-Star break, just pretend like that week gave him a break. And for the next 3 games, have him pop up on the injury report as questionable. Maybe doubtful 1 week. Yeah. Just to build up the tension. Yeah. Have him pop on as questionable and have him play. There you go. Yeah. Problem solved. Instead of just outright saying he's not going to play and then throwing a little bitch fit because you didn't get the entire league to bend to your will and undo a rule that has been in place. Yeah. If you want to change the rule, that's fine. Go change the rule to the Board of Governors meetings. But please stop complaining about every little thing under the sun because it doesn't bend to your whim.
Oh, it won't be the last time, though. But, yeah. So that was what was going on. So
anyway, I'm leaving, but, man, I'm so sick of listening to Miami. And I'm so sick of listening to Jorge Mas. Yes. And I'm so sick of this idea that everything can go your way and you still are going to find time and energy to bitch and moan. About when the few things don't go your way.
Correct.
Enjoy another first round elimination.
Yes. And the world will laugh. And there goes Jared. All right. Let me say hi to everybody before we go. Back at it again tomorrow. Let's see. So hi, Alex. Hi, Derek. Hi, Wiley. Let's see. Hi, Abby. Abby's got both jerseys. We love you for it. Let's see. Alex, Abby, Dell, Derek, Jordan. Let's see. I'm scanning the list, saying hi to everybody so we can be back at it again tomorrow. Morning, Michael. Let's see. Michael, Abby, Abby, 4-card. Morning, 4-card. Let's see. So there's Michael again. Commando HD 85. As always, great to have you in there, Commando. HD 85. Let's see, Abby and Alex and Lokeville and let's see. And so we'll go back over these questions again tomorrow. If I missed anything today, then we'll go back at it tomorrow because that's where we'll go over everything else going on in Major League Soccer. We reached out to guests, reached out to stuff, got a lot of things, and we'll talk about it all tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. We got Leagues Cup on Wednesday, talk about it on Thursday, and we'll go through all the things. So as always, love you guys. Thanks for coming by. That's another Reaction Monday. And keep an eye out on social medias. Genuine Cup is starting tomorrow, I believe. So we'll keep an eye on that with Atlanta United Unified as they have made the trip to Houston to take on the Planet. They're starting off with a matchup against Ajax. So since it is the end of the show, Mucha Plati, I'll play it safe. Back at it again a little less than 22. It means we get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning.